This episode of World Wellness Education is made possible by a production grant from the Milhorn Law Firm. Have you or a loved one ever suffered an injury due to the negligence of another? Then it's time to turn to a law firm that you know and trust, one with a record of client satisfaction and integrity. Hello, my name is Ryan Milhorn, and the Milhorn Law Firm has been representing personal injury clients in the Central Florida area for over 20 years. Our attorneys live in this community and are very proud to call it home. The Milhorn Law Firm, the law firm you know and trust.
Hi, I'm Tracy Brosman, co-founder of World Wellness Education, a community forum to educate, encourage, and inspire a better way of life. We commonly face day-to-day challenges of stress, lack of exercise, and poor eating habits. But with the right approach, we can find freedom, wake up each morning feeling healthy, focused, and ready to take on the day. Together, we can make a difference, one story at a time. With over 2/3 of our population either overweight or obese, many people find it imperative that they lose weight in order to avoid a multitude of health problems. Our guest today, Dr. Jeffrey Glover, will share with us his weight loss journey. Welcome, Dr. Glover.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your journey. When did you learn that you were overweight or recognize that?
I recognized it at a younger age. When I was a kid, I was always athletic. We always played baseball, involved in sports. And as I got to age around, say, 10 or 11, I started really not competing in the sports like I used to. At that same time, my family we always had family dinners together. And as we aged, my oldest brother, there's a span of 8 years between us. So when he was in high school, I was kind of I was just starting middle school. Well, he went away from the Marines. Every time we had dinner, we always had a family dinner, everybody was always there. And he always had 2 or 3 friends that were kind of like my brothers as well, so they would always come over.
Okay.
And my mom, she always made dinner for everybody, and all the food was gone at the end of it. Well, my brother, he went in the Marines. Whenever he did, my mom still kind of made the same amount of food for 3 more people.
I was going to say, for your brother and his friends.
So instead of it being through like 7 people, it was through like 4 people. And that's when things slowly started coming on, was that the lack of activity with the increase in eating.
And did you have problems as a child? Did you have any problems from the weight loss or from the weight gain?
From the weight, I noticed quite a few things as I started to age. As a child, I had certain things. I had asthma. I didn't know if that was from that or not. But once I started to age, as I got to the age of probably 14, I would say. That's when the biggest thing happened. I was outside playing basketball with my brother, and I thought I had sprained my knee. So I went to the doctor. We got a brace, and he said it'd take a couple weeks for it to get over with. Kept getting worse. I started walking with a cane for a little bit, which was not the most flattering thing to do.
No, especially as a 14-year-old,
yeah.
right?
So I walked with a cane for a little bit because I didn't want to use crutches, and it got to the point where I needed to use crutches over a span of a few weeks.
So it was getting worse.
It was progressively getting worse, and it felt like someone was just stabbing my knee with a knife.
Now, would you consider yourself being overweight at that time?
Yes, I would. I was overweight at that time.
How much did you weigh? If you don't mind me asking.
I would say at that time probably it was in the twos, probably around 250, 275-ish, I would say at that time. I had got up to 350 at my highest part, but I was around 275 then. And what happened was, as my knee progressively got worse, I started walking with crutches, and it got to the point where, as I would go, when I put my arms down and go from one step to the other, excruciating pain, just the vibration of the leg. So I went back to the doctor and said, "Doc, something's not working." So I went to the orthopedist, and he said that we actually had to do surgery the next day, and he was telling me that I had a problem with my hip. And I tried telling him, I was like, "No, doc, I don't. The problem's in my knee." And I found out what it was. It was a referred pain from my hip. And he said the condition was actually a condition that happened a lot with overweight males as they had a growth spurt. And he said this big long name that I didn't know what he was talking about as a kid. It was called slip cap femoral epiphysis. And what happens is the top of the actual femur, which is the bone in your leg, there's a growth plate, and that growth plate was actually slipping off, and it was causing my leg to kind of rotate outward. He said that there was no way that they could fix it. They could just kind of stop it from getting worse. So basically they had to go in and do surgery. When they did that, I was pulled out of school for about 6 months, and then I basically couldn't do any activity. I was pretty much wheelchair bound for a few months. And so what does an overweight kid do when they're just sitting around watching TV? They
eat more.
So that's when I was overweight before, but that's when the weight really started piling on from the lack of activity of doing pretty much nothing. So that's when it really started getting worse.
So how much more weight did you gain over that period of time?
Over the period of time, I'm not sure, but I definitely noticed that my clothes were getting tighter, and I had got up to 350. That was the highest point.
Did you have other health problems that resulted from that?
A lot of weird things started jumping up that no one could explain. I started getting these skin tags around my neck. I always took a shower each night, but I started getting these skin tags, and this brown discoloration, almost like dirt, kind of went around my neck. And I went to I had an appointment with a dermatologist to see if there was something I could do, and he put together some type of cream for me. It was very abrasive, almost kind of like I would say a sandpapery type feel thing. I would have to rub on twice a day, and some of the skin tags went away, but it was left my skin almost raw, almost as rubbing them. I couldn't wear my necklace that I used to wear. So, and that was just there for forever. I had other things happened. I had these lipomas, which were fatty tumors, so I come up on my ankles. I had to have a consult for those.
And you were young, very young to be having so many problems.
Yeah, and they couldn't explain the why. They just said we could take them off, but they said they're benign. But he said normally they don't do anything with them. Another thing that happened that was it was very scary. I was on a vacation with my family in Jupiter, with my mom and my brother and my cousin, and we went to the beach one day. And it was a very rough day at the beach, and I was overweight, so I wasn't very athletic, and so I was kind of tossed around a lot. So as you do that, you get a lot of sand everywhere. So we go back to the hotel, and I'm taking a shower, and I noticed that on my right testicle there was a nodule, and that I didn't know was there before. And I was between 15 and 16 at this time. And so as you're developing, you're thinking, okay, is this normal? Is this not? So you're not sure what's going on.
Because you've seen a lot of body changes over the years.
Yeah. And so I just kind of kept it to myself. I'm thinking, okay, I'll just keep an eye on this. And so after a few weeks, it didn't go away. Nothing was changing. First thing I did was I asked my brother. I said, "Hey, Joey, this came up. Is it supposed to be like this?" And he was like, "No, it's not." So gave it a couple more weeks and told my parents about it, and then we finally went to the doctor, went to the urologist, and he said from his examination, he was pretty sure that it was. He said it was cancerous without doing the incision or anything. But the next day, he was in the hospital, and he said we're most likely going to have to remove the whole testicle, which, as a 15-year-old kid, is not something that you want to hear.
No.
So we go in, and then I remember that night before I went in for the surgery, it was a lot of praying, things like that. The next day I came out of surgery. Luckily, it was just a cyst, but he thought it was for sure it was a tumor. Took it out, was able to keep it, so that was good. But a lot of things like that no one else could explain, just weird things that happened that weren't happening to other people.
Right.
Yeah, it was very scary.
How was it at school? Because you were so young and you're tall, but still being that heavy, I'm sure.
At school,
caused challenges.
It seems like you didn't really have a place. I had friends, a couple good friends, and one of my best friends that I made in 6th grade was a guy named Joseph, Joseph Romero, and we were the worst trumpet players in band, but we were also the two
Okay.
biggest kids, so we just
Okay.
kind of flocked to each other. So as I aged, we were always like kind of the two that were together. And the students kind of treat you differently. Obviously, you get picked on. You hear people, slightly whispering, even though it's not really whispering. You can still hear. And people, when you're walking down the halls, you had like two reactions were the primary ones you would get. People would either stare at you, or they would constantly avoid you. So it was very uncomfortable. They would try, not to look at you as you were going by. So it wasn't a good feeling either in either direction.
Yeah.
So that definitely affects your self-confidence, things like that.
What was a catalyst for you to lose the weight or begin to lose it?
Catalyst to lose the weight, I started taking, I went to Lake Sumter. I took a biology course. It was one of my prerequisites for chiropractic school. I always knew I wanted to be a chiropractor, and this was one of the first courses that I was taking. It was my freshman year. And I was with my buddy Joe. We were in the class together. We tried to take the same classes, and the professor, who wasn't a big guy, he had did the Atkins diet, and he did it over a week. And he said he had lost 9 pounds in 1 week, and he kind of singled out me and my buddy. He said that there's a few of you in here that need to lose a lot of weight. He's like, I did the Atkins diet, lost 9 pounds in 1 week. And he said, you can do the same thing. He said, if you don't, you're just lazy, and it's your fault. And so that kind of struck a chord with me.
He was very blunt.
Yes, very much so, because he was looking right at us in a lecture hall of about 50 to 75.
He wasn't mincing words, right?
No. And we were in the second row, so it was right up front. So that got me thinking. Most of the time, and that was kind of a negative reinforcement tactic, and most of the time I didn't respond very, very well to that. Most of the time with me, I react, and I try to do this with people now, is find something positive and try to reinforce that. Because if people say, oh, you're fat, you need to lose weight, it always...
You knew that already.
Yeah, I already knew that. It didn't make me want to change. It just made me, want to get cry or upset.
Right.
But him telling me that is what really got me thinking. It is my fault. I'm control what goes in my body. Mm-hmm. So that and the combination, I knew I was going to be a doctor, and I wanted to be healthy. And it's sad to say...
Yeah, it's hard to be a doctor and have people look up to you and say, hey, I know what's best for you, but I'm not practicing
Yeah,
it
exactly.
myself.
Practice what you preach. So I knew that I had to be in shape for that. And then I was 18 at the time, so obviously you think about girls at that time. So and from the reaction that I was getting before, that wasn't working. So I needed to do something. So that's what really started me, and I started doing the Atkins diet. I had tried a couple, different fad diets, but because that's what was introduced to me by my biology professor, that's the one that I used. And
how did that work?
Well, there were mixed results. I started losing weight, and then I tweaked it a little bit here and there, kind of made it my own. But as I was losing the weight, I noticed that over time, not in the very beginning. The very beginning it was okay. I didn't notice a lot of side effects, but as I started losing weight, I started noticing that my hair there was a lot more hair in my brush when I was combing my hair. And back then, my hair didn't look like it does now. It was very, if you've ever seen some of the 80s rockers, that was kind of like my hair.
So it was long.
It was very long. It was very long. And so as I started brushing my hair, I noticed more and more hair was coming out in the brush. I'm thinking, this is weird, but that's still pretty thick. It was very, very thick. And then as I lost more and more weight, it kept getting thinner and thinner. And also I noticed I was tired all the time. Well, one of the things is with the Atkins diet, you're not taking in any carbs, which is what the body uses for energy. And so doing that, also in the mix with going to college, trying to study, your brain needs glucose so you can function, wondering why I have this kind of fog whenever I'm trying to study because I'm not taking in those nutrients, feeling kind of tired as I was going through it. It wasn't very pleasant, but I didn't think about it until after the fact.
Do you think that was part of your hair loss too? Because of the nutrients?
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely lost hair because of the nutrients. And anyone who would even think about doing that type of diet would definitely want to add a couple of vitamins or supplements into their program, because with that type of diet, you're not getting everything that your body needs. Okay. And that's something you really need to think about before you do any type of diet program, because there's a lot of different fad diets out there. But the big thing is I try to tell people is change their lifestyle.
How much weight did you lose during that period of time, though, on the Atkins diet?
The whole time, I would say I lost a total of 180 pounds.
Wow.
As I went through this whole journey, went from 350, I got down to 170.
I was going to say, so you lost more than half your body weight.
Yeah. I got down to 170, and the reason I got down so low was I was looking on statistics on body weight, and I was so used to being not average, I wanted to be average. Well, I saw the average body weight for a male was 150. Well, I didn't take into account that the average height is not 6'4", which is what I was.
156. I know you're over 6 feet.
So, and in my mind, when I look in the mirror, I still saw that fat person. So even at 170, I still saw that, oh no, I need to lose weight. Well, looking back at pictures now, it looks, I look like I'm almost ready to die. I mean, eyes kind of sunken in, looked very not healthy whatsoever. Looked like a concentration camp almost.
So you went from one extreme to the other.
Yeah, I did. And I had, my family telling me, oh, it was like, they were proud of me that I lost weight, but they were saying that, that you don't really look good. You need to eat this, you need to eat that. And it was tough because I had gone from, eating all this stuff to hardly eating anything. And when I tried to get back to a normal, healthy weight, it was tough because I was used to almost not eating anything. And what it was just some protein or hardly any carbs whatsoever.
Wow. How long did it take you to lose the 180 pounds?
It was about, from the time I was between 18 and 19, by the time I was 21, I would say it was gone. And the whole time while I was at Lake Sumter, because I went to Lake Sumter before I transferred over to UCF. And when I transferred to UCF, that's when I really started looking more into actually learning about nutrition and I minored in fitness training, so took a bunch of those courses. So learned more about working out, because before I was doing mainly just a type of cardio and diet, and that was it. I didn't do much resistance training, which is something that you need to do, incorporate. So I learned a lot of stuff from there.
So you not only did the Atkins diet, but you incorporated exercise back into your world.
Yeah, and that's when I started feeling better. It was when I started doing that, and once I got to a healthier weight, it took a little bit to put some of the weight back on. Like it probably took, I would say probably a year or two to get back up to say like 195 to 205-ish area. So it was tough because you're playing tricks with your mind. So.
Yeah, and you probably always had that fear that you didn't want to get to 350 again.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always in the back of your mind. You something I used to always do is I had a picture of how I used to look on the mirror, just so it was like a daily reminder. But then I quit doing that because I found that was more like a negative reinforcement, and I've kind of learned to focus now more on positive things. And when you think about positive stuff, positive things will be attracted to you.
Right.
So when you have something negative, you're still going to be subconsciously drawing some negative ideas and actions to you, and that's something that I don't want to do.
So what type of exercise did you do?
Exercises that I do, we did. I did a lot of. Well, I started out just doing some light exercise because my parents had about 3 acres at their house, and as I was going to school, I was still living with them. And what I would do is I would start out. There was like a pathway we could go like around their property. I would run a lap and walk a lap. And whenever I say run a lap, that was more like a fast walk because that's about as fast as a 350-pound person can go.
Say, yes.
Yeah. And by the time I was done, I would do 3 of each. By the time I was done, it was intense sweating. My hip was killing me, but I knew it was something that I had to do to get the weight off. And my mentality was I was going to do whatever it took to get there, because once I have a goal in mind, whether it be anything in life, no matter what it is, I'm going to find a way to get it done. And that can be good, that can be bad.
Doing, right?
So yes. So by any means necessary, if it was doing harm to my body, that's what I was going to do.
So even though your hip hurt, now let me ask you, you've lost the weight. Does your hip still hurt?
Every now and then, and I used to hear my grandmother say that the weather was changing and her bursitis would flare up.
And you never could understand that,
yeah,
right?
No, but sometimes when the weather changes, I'll notice something, but it's the biggest thing that affected with me is I can't do certain exercises now because the doctor couldn't fix the top of my leg, like rotate it back. So working out, say if I want to do squats, I just can't squat really or go down to 90 degrees. So I just have to do things one leg at a time instead of doing like double leg exercises. And you find a way around things. I mean, you have aches and pains, but you work around them. Like whenever I still try to do cardio because you want to make sure that you can keep the weight off, but you lift too to make sure you get that lean mass. Whenever I run, I can run, but the next 3 or 4 days it will be kind of like intense pain. So what I found is I can do the elliptical, it doesn't bother me. I can do the Stairmaster, that doesn't bother me. So those are the ones that I do. I can power walk and it's fine. You can still get your heart rate up doing that, but it's just that jarring from the running that does it. So you just have to find ways. No matter what's wrong with you, can find something to do that can get your heart rate up.
So what kind of diet did you end up with in the long run?
What I ended up doing, and that's still what I kind of follow today, is more of a Mediterranean type diet. Lean proteins, heart healthy fats, omega-3s, green fibrous vegetables. That's something I can't stress enough. That's really what I stick to now. I try to avoid the sugars, anything that causes inflammation, which is going to be sugars. Some of the grains, even though they're supposed to be good for you, they will cause inflammation in your body. And
what about dairy?
Dairy, I limit dairy in moderation. I don't with myself. I don't drink any milk whatsoever. I will have some cheese every now and then on top of my chili that I make, but I try to limit.
The special thing.
Yeah. So just as a little garnish, but not the main thing. Because I noticed myself, I think we're all to a point somewhat lactose intolerance, just varying degrees. And I noticed myself whenever I would have, I used to love milkshakes. Whenever I would have them, like the next day, I would be kind of bloated, even though I wasn't diagnosed with lactose intolerance. So yeah, I try to limit the dairy.
Yeah. And how long have you kept the weight off now?
About 11 years. I just turned 32 last week, so it was about 2021 whenever all the weight came off.
So when you say lifestyle change, you definitely have walked your talk.
Oh, absolutely. I think I would never ask anyone or tell them to do anything that I wouldn't do or that I haven't done. And that's what I try to share now with people as far as inspirational stories, like what my professor did for me. I found out there was a girl one of the clinics that I worked at before I opened up my own clinic. The front desk lady, her daughter, she was 15. She wanted to be a volleyball player, so she needed a school physical. So we did physicals for free for students, but also for family of people working there. And she came in, and she was 350 pounds, which I saw a lot of myself in her. Barring the gender difference, of course.
Right,
but,
of course.
She
so
came in.
So did you share your story with her?
Absolutely, yeah. She came in and she knew that she was overweight, but whenever she saw the number on the scale, that was kind of an eye-opening thing for her. And she didn't really have a whole lot of pain like I had, but I had just shared with her my story.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah.
We're running out of time, but did she make a difference?
Absolutely. She, I noticed a few months ago she had posted on her Facebook that she posted a pre and post pic, and she had lost over 100 pounds.
Wow.
She's now a Zumba instructor, and I congratulate her, and she said, actually, thank you, Dr. Glover, it all started with your visit. So
one story at a time.
Yeah.
So Dr. Glover, if people would like to hear more about your journey or find out more information, how can they get a hold of you?
If they want to get a hold of us, they can go to our website. It's www.gloverchiro.com. That has our phone number. They can email us from that. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody about my story or give them any kind of advice I can to kind of lead them on their right path.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Together, we make a difference, one story at a time. If you'd like to find out more information about World Wellness Education, visit our website at worldwellnesseducation.org. It seems that as we get older, we struggle more and more to stay at that ideal weight. So let's take a look at some foods that can help you lose weight. Eggs are full of protein and help you feel full longer. A study of 30 overweight women found that those who ate 2 scrambled eggs for breakfast consumed less calories for the next 36 hours than women who had a bagel for breakfast. Beans contain a digestive hormone that naturally suppresses your appetite. There is also some evidence that beans help keep your blood sugar level. Green tea contains antioxidants that help speed metabolism and burn fat. In a recent Japanese study, 35 men who drank a bottle of green tea each day lost weight, boosted their metabolism, and had a significant drop in their body mass index. Pears make you feel full quickly, and a medium pear has 6 grams of fiber. Pears also decrease blood sugar levels, helping you avoid between-meal snacking. A Purdue University study with 18 women and 13 men shows that soups blunt the appetite. Researchers speculate that even the simplest soup satisfies hunger because your brain perceives it as filling. In a study of the University of Illinois, women eating anywhere from 9 to 10 ounces of beef per day on a 1,700-calorie diet lost more weight, more fat, and less muscle mass than a control group consuming the same number of calories but less protein. A 2006 study of 91 obese people conducted at the Nutrition and Metabolic Research Center at Scripps Clinic found that eating half a grapefruit before each meal or drinking a serving of the juice 3 times a day helped people drop more than 3 pounds over 12 weeks. Sprinkle cinnamon on oatmeal or whole grain toast to help cure those mid-afternoon sugar slumps. Vinegar can also short-circuit the swift blood sugar rise that occurs when you eat refined carbs such as white bread, cookies, and crackers. Foods that increase your metabolism are cocoa, blueberries, flax, and sweet potatoes. Drinking plenty of water is also a great way to increase your metabolism. This information is not meant to be medical advice. No action or inaction should be taken solely on the contents of this information. Instead, you should consult appropriate health professionals on any matter relating to your health and well-being. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can catch the show each week on Lakefront TV. To find more about World Wellness Education, check out our website at worldwellnesseducation.org. We'll see you next time.
This episode of World Wellness Education is made possible by a production grant from the Milhorn Law Firm.
We at the Milhorn Law Firm believe that important decisions in planning should not be put on hold. These planning decisions affect not only you, but your children and heirs. My name is Eric Milhorn. I'm one of 7 attorneys here at the Milhorn Law Firm. We've been very fortunate. We've been able to serve the Central Florida area for a period of over 20 years. All the attorneys at the Milhorn Law Firm live in this area and are proud to call this area our home.
The Milhorn Law Firm, the law firm you know and trust.